Over the past 25 years, as I've been traveling around the world, I jokingly would call St. John Paul II my John the Baptist, because almost inevitably, before I would get there, he had been there. And sometimes actually to the point of he was leaving as I was arriving. And recently I feel like I have become, for Pope Francis, his John the Baptist, because the countries he keeps going to, we have been there. Recently I spent 10 days for life in South Korea. During this past year, we were in Colombia, Bogota, Colombia, Mexico, Spain, England, but Albania. I spent a week in Albania. And anyone says that his life is going to be at risk in Albania, they haven't been there. Albania is one of the oldest, really, dioceses in the world. Tirana, the place where the Cathedral of St. Paul the Apostle, where Pope Francis is going to stay. The understanding is that Paul the Apostle, when he was in Macedonia, on his way to Italy, he went there and he started that diocese. That's why it's called the Cathedral of St. Paul the Apostle. And from there, of course, Mother Teresa of Calcutta. That's where she originally is from. And it's interesting, you know, the seed is sown, and the seed is of martyrdom. And when I was in South Korea, recently, you know, Pope Francis canonized more than 100 martyrs in Seoul. Actually, in 1984, 30 years ago, Pope John Paul II went to Seoul, and he canonized a couple of hundred martyrs. But having been in South Korea, they informed me, of course, that they can't afford the process of getting all those who are buried there canonized. But the reality is that in the middle of the 19th century, actually there were 10,000 martyrs for the faith. 10,000 martyrs. And today we celebrate the feast of St. Andrew Kim, who was the first native parish priest. And Paul Chung, who was actually a seminarian. And they were martyred for the faith. And that seed has grown. If you go to South Korea, you'll find this, that the Catholic Church is very strong. It's maybe 20% of the population, but very, very respected, because they really are fine Christians. You know, the Holy Father, he said the great Mass in Seoul, which is the second largest city in the world, 16 million people there. The largest, of course, being Mexico City, where there's 25 million. But he went from there to a place called Katanan. And it's a place which Kata means flower, a flower village, literally, flower village. And there was a priest in South Korea called Father John. And when he was ordained, he saw this man begging for bread, and he would give him bread, he'd give him food. But he never saw him eating the food. And eventually he got very curious. Oh, well, what does he do? And he followed him. Because every day he'd be out begging for food, but never eating it, never taking it. And he followed him to a mountain. In the mountain there was a cave. And he'd go inside, and inside the cave there were 12 men. There were 12 men who had reached a point in their lives they were incapable of begging. They were incapable of going out. And so he begged for them. He begged for them. And when Father John saw this, he ended up creating a house of love at that spot, at the foot of the mountain. But from that grew a whole city of love, of reaching out to those who were rejected. They would go into the cities in the most despondent people that were there, they'd pick them up and they'd bring them home. And they started to set up building after building. It's a magnificent city now of love, which the people who are the most rejected in society are loved. And the idea why he called it Flower Village was this. He believed that no matter what the condition of a person, if they're surrounded by love, they will blossom like a flower. And when you're there, you see it. It's an incredible experience. And the Holy Father went there, of course, and he went to the very places I went. And also they had a field there, 1,000 crosses. The Holy Father, the 1,000 crosses signify in Korea, South Korea, actually 1,000 children die of abortion each day. And so the 1,000 crosses are a reminder of that, a reminder of that. But the thing I want to stress is this. Father John did this, others followed. There's a whole religious order there of men and women. There is an incredible, the government itself recognizes this now and helps to subsidize this incredible city of love. But he stressed that it's good to beg for others. And that was the thing he learned. And to go out and beg for others is something that is not unimportant to God. And what we do this morning, we're begging. We're going to go out and beg, not for ourselves. We're going to go out and we're going to beg for the lives of the unborn children. We're going to beg for the people who are going to do this, that their hearts be changed. And it's not for ourselves, but isn't that magnificent? Isn't that a magnificent thing? And not to be afraid to do so. Not to be afraid to do so. To beg for the children. You know, everybody's upset that the lives of different people, reporters and so forth, their heads were taken off. And of course, it's incredible. How could you do such a thing? And yet we go right back, not understanding, you're begging for the lives of the unborn children. What? That their heads not be taken off. Every child that is aborted, they take the head off. How do you think they get it out? You see? And we just sort of take that for granted. We're all upset with something we can't do much about, and we don't do anything about that which we can do about. You know, it's an act, it's a terroristic act. It's crazy. And you're going out there begging and witnessing to the fact that these children are being beheaded. These children are being taken, dismembered. And we're funding it. We're protecting it. And of course the parents later, when they find that out, it drives them crazy. They need the love and compassion of Christ to get back to sanity again. And so what we do this morning is we're doing like a Father John does. We're going to go beg, but not for ourselves. We're going to go beg for the children, for the people who work there, for the people who are part of this. You see, the children experience the culture of death, but they're not part of it. The people who are doing this to the children, they are part of the culture of death. And we beg for the graces of God for them to change their hearts, that they may live. See, so St. Andrew Kim and the seminarian, Paul Chang, they died, and what happened? Well, you have that village of love, a flower village. You have incredibly strong, 20% of the South Koreans now are Catholics, but they're very, very good Catholics. Let me tell you that. They really believe, they're an example and respected. So that seed that was sown, it really took roots. And in Albania, I spent a week there, and there's a place I went to. It's cloistered sisters are there. It's a building under the communists where the parish priests were taken. They were taken there, and they were tortured and killed, and their blood was shed. And that seed is doing wonderful things now in Albania. And their cause for canonization is also coming up now. And the sisters are there day and night. That same place where it was a butcher house where they were beheaded, they were tortured. Parish priest after one. And all those priest causes is coming up now for canonization. But as a result, the church in Albania is a beautiful church. And the idea there's a danger there, no, the Muslims and the Catholics in Albania, they really blend. They go back. There's no problem. No problem. I'd speak to both when I was there all the time. And so that the Pope is not under any possible danger in Albania. And the seed of those parish priests who were tortured under the communists, that is now a place of sacred place where there's constant prayer. It's a reminder, similar to what we're celebrating today with those martyrs in the 19th century in South Korea. Actually, it was 10,000 of them. 10,000 of them. And the same thing, their blood is causing a respect and a growth of the church in Albania. And so we pray for the Holy Father who is going there tomorrow. He's going there tomorrow. That his presence there will continue to strengthen that wonderful church that suffered greatly under the communists. They suffered greatly. But that seed of their blood shed for the truth has resulted in a really powerful church growing in Albania. And so we maybe not are going to be beheaded. We're not going to suffer. But it does require a little bit of courage. It does require sacrifice to get up on a Saturday morning like you're doing, and to go out to the streets, to the place where everybody is walking by, and to pray, and to give witness, and to bring about a change of heart, a change of heart. And God will bless you for that. It's not a bad thing to beg for others, says Father John. And if we do, those lives, if they're allowed to be born, they will flower. They will blossom like a flower. And we pray to God that our presence will allow many, many children to blossom, mothers and fathers to be saved from the pain of having had an abortion, and for those who have had an abortion, that our presence, our loving presence, will move their hearts to come back to God and become part of the culture of life.
Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.